the next thing that we want to make sure, and you can do in unison with learning about your pelvic tilt and the laying down exercise, is to start to release off your hip flexors. Now, there's the obvious quadricep stretch, so that will get into your rec fem, so that's a good one to start with. Just basically bring the heel to the bum. You can drop your weight down a little bit, so as though your knee is growing down towards the floor. It's a similar idea to what you might want to start thinking about when you're on the horse, letting your knee grow down towards the floor. You should feel a good stretch through the bulk of your quadricep there. Next one, getting into the Iliopsoas and TFL. Kneeling down on something soft, one leg out in front of you. Most people will have seen this stretch. Most people will be doing this stretch incorrectly. Now, once again, we'll do a bit of 80s fashion. Roll this up somehow so you can see what I'm actually doing. Should have thought of this beforehand. So, when most people do this stretch, they will come right forward, and you can see my pelvis is in an anterior tilt and I'm getting a lot of arching through my lower back. We don't want that. What we want is to keep your core nice and solid. So thinking of that neutral pelvic tilt, zipping the jeans up that little bit, that actually stabilizes your pelvis. So from there, you're actually going to get a much more efficient stretch and much more effective stretch. Nice and square. Have something to rest your hand on so that you're actually well balanced and you're not going to tilt sideways, lose your balance. Foot nicely out in front of you so that you can see your foot in front of you. You've got a good wide base to begin with. Keep your upper body nice and relaxed, no arching your back, leaning sideways, and get that core switched on. Same thing again, if you pop your fingers in between your iliac crests there, you will actually feel those muscles switched on if you've got your pelvis stable. So from there, you want to bring the knee forward over your toe, opening out through the front of your hip of the knee that's down. You don't have to go very far. That's as far as I need to go before I can actually feel that stretch right up in through the top of my hip. Let me swap sides so you can actually see where the stretch is happening. So setting yourself up again, nice and square. Switch the core on. This side actually, for some reason, my hip flexor is a lot tighter, so I actually find it harder to get my pelvis stable. My body tries to do all sorts of weird things to get out of having to actually switch those muscles on, and I'm not nearly as stable. So now that I've got that done, remembering to breathe, I was holding my breath there, and then come forward a little bit. There is where I should be feeling there, and slightly down in through here. So compared to the quad stretch, which was down here, you're actually aiming for up here. Now, once you've held that for about 30 seconds, good half a dozen good deep breaths in and out. Make sure that your lower back is still held nice and stable. Come back out of that. Then what you can do, bring your knee over so that you're actually foot and knee are lined up. Once again, get yourself stable. You should start to feel that up into the side of your hip a little bit more. You can come across ever so slightly just to get the stretch up into what's called the TFL, the tensor fasciae latae. Get yourself nice and stable again, zip yourself up, and then come forward. And again, you'll feel it up in the top of the hip, but slightly more to the side than you did the initial one. So again, good 30 seconds or so, half a dozen deep breaths in and out, then come back into neutral, swap sides, do the opposite side again. Same thing, zip yourself up, this side's so much easier. Really need to work on my imbalance as we're doing. Get that little bit of a stretch into the side just by taking the supporting limb into adduction, so towards the middle of the body, and then bring your weight forward. And half a dozen good deep breaths in and out, and then back to neutral. So 2 or 3 times per side again, good 30 seconds for each stretch. take it to a point where the stretch feels like it's around about a 7 out of 10. So 0 was no stretch, 10 was a stretch that you felt like the muscle was about to snap. You don't want to go there. Hold it for about 30 seconds. You can hold it for longer if you want to. Just don't bounce. Keep it a nice, steady, stable stretch. And 2 or 3 times per side. You should find that by the second or third time, you're finding it much harder to actually feel that really strong stretch. So you may actually be able to go forward a little bit further, but do make sure that you keep your pelvis in neutral and your core switched on. That is absolutely crucial. If you don't, you are risking compressing all the little joints in through your lower back, ending up with sacroiliac pain because the hip flexors are already likely to be affecting the sacroiliacs. You may aggravate that if you're not looking after the pelvic tilt. So you can actually work on that simultaneously with the laying flat, getting your pelvic tilt correct, switching those transverse abdominis muscles on. A couple of times a day, whenever you get a chance. If you're up and about and you don't have a chance to get down and do the kneeling stretch, even just a quad stretch will help to loosen things out. Bringing it down, you can get it back into your hip flexors a little bit. So it's better than nothing. Have a go at that. A couple of times a day, every day, next week. Let me know how you're getting on. If you're having any trouble and you need some personal advice, do give me a shout. Happy to discuss, and yeah, we'll see where we go from there. Good luck, have fun.